everyone, and welcome to the brand new episode of our weekly Game of Thrones YouTube show, The Last Night's Watch. This week we'll be discussing everything about episode 4, Oathkeeper. So if you haven't watched it, turn away now, or feel free to sit down and watch with us if you like being spoiled. We'll be talking about all the big moments from the episode, some major book to TV show changes. We'll also have a few celebrity guests, including Game of Thrones cast members and people from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Divergent. This week I'm joined by Sam Ashurst and Aoife Wilson.
Hello.
And so I suppose, first things first, what was your favourite bit of this episode?
Oof, Aoife,
There's so much of it.
Yeah.
So much happened in this episode. I'm always a big fan of the Daenerys scenes, and Meereen was pretty cool because, you know, there was she had stuff to do in this episode. A lot actually happened, and we saw the Targaryen colours fly for I think the first time, right? That she's actually got it up and displayed. So
who made that? Did they have someone
right?
just
I think,
sewing
well, I
one
mean,
of the
I think she
Unsullied?
probably sort of ferreted it away just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
She does have a lot of downtime.
Yeah. Well, I want to know where her dragons are. I mean, does she put them in kennels when she's out attacking cities? I don't really know. Where have they been in the past couple of episodes? But yeah, that was pretty cool. What was your favourite scene?
Oh, I'm still spinning out a little bit over this episode. My favourite scene is right at the end. It's huge. It's the first time Game of Thrones has gotten ahead of the books. This isn't just like changing it, it's ahead of the books. So it was quite shocking as a book reader to see that happen. There were a lot of changes throughout the episodes, some more important than others. The biggest one for me is Sir Pounce.
I forgot about Sir Pounce.
That cat is too old. He should be a kitten.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Really covering like the groundbreaking stuff that we need to talk about.
Well, you know, anyway, yeah, Sir Pounce in the books is a gift from Marjorie to Tommen. She gives him 3 kittens, and it's her way of it's an early manipulation of Tommen, and it's sort of a fuck you to Cersei because Cersei doesn't want him to have pets. So that's big, guys. That is huge.
I absolutely love Marjorie. Like, she's getting to be one of my favourite characters just because of how manipulative she is. And I love that scene with her and Olenna in this episode, where it's kind of like just everything that isn't said. And Olenna, I mean, I didn't know when I started today I would hear Dame Diana Rigg talk about how good at sex she is. But, you know,
she was a hussy.
She was a proper hussy, and fair play to her, because that's how the game is played with women. So that was quite a cool scene.
That whole thing though, I think, twofold thing. One, again, it dovetails from the books. I was surprised by how quickly they brought the resolution of who killed.
Absolutely.
I think that was a good thing though. I mean, I'm glad that they
agree.
didn't drag it out too much.
But in the books, they don't. Lena never has that conversation with Marjorie, and actually says, you know, I did it. And even, it just came about very quickly. And the way that Marjorie's being pushed to manipulate Tommen is far more direct in this. In the books, goes on for ages, and she does it in a kind of a more of a subtle way. Whereas here, she's like, "Hey, I got boobs. You're like 12. Let's do something. Here's a cat."
Scared face where he's like, "Ugh," it's in bed.
And again, in the books, he's just a little kid, so I guess it's part of the butterfly effect. You know, they've made the actor older, so she can't manipulate him in the same way, which presumably is why Sir Pounce is already there in his big cat. I'm never going to get over that. But
I did love that scene though. I thought, you know, again within the dynamic of it, kind of she just plays it so well, just being kind of really
so
flirty
subtle,
and kind of Machiavellian without, you know, pushing over there. Going back to the scene which you spoke about with Meereen, that had a couple of really big moments, especially for people complaining. I saw on Twitter somebody just described Daenerys' thing as an extreme gap year. At the moment, she's like wandering around, seeing things.
It's true, actually. I mean, we haven't actually seen her do very much for a while. It seems to be like, you know, she's just sort of collecting up all these people, and you're not quite sure what her game plan is at this point.
I did think it was pretty brutal though, because I feels like she's being built up for a fall. Do you know what I mean? She's almost becoming arrogant with it a little bit, you know, and she's like, I will answer justice with justice.
Well, when she's actually advised, you know, maybe mercy is the better option here, and she's like, nah, I'm crucifying these guys.
Pass me the nails.
Yeah.
That was pretty brutal. And equally, again, not to bang on about it, but compared to the books, it's interesting because Grey Worm wasn't the one who was sent in to like liberate the city as it was. Yeah. So, and even that scene at the beginning when her kind of, their interaction about what it was like to be a slave, I thought that was quite interesting. It feels like they're kind of positioning him to be more of a prominent role?
Yeah, it feels like they're giving an Unsullied a romantic subplot, which is bullshit.
Yeah, because he kind of put, there was a very, very small moment where he put his hand out, right? Where you're just like, no, you're not supposed to do that. You know, you're this one. You don't have feelings. Yeah.
It's weird. I kind of like the line as well when he goes in to the keep and one of the slaves says, they taught you how to fight before you could walk. And I just had this image of a baby swinging a sword. But yeah.
Spin-off?
Yeah.
Be like the Rugrats. Or like
the Muppet Babies, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, Unsullied Babies, amazing.
I'd even watch that in Muppet form as well. I'd definitely watch that. Speaking of Grey Worm, we actually spoke to him on the red carpet for the Game of Thrones premiere the other week. And he spoke to us about what he would want to see in a Game of Thrones movie. And it's pretty, I would love to see what he's about to say.
This is my favourite one of these. This is amazing.
It's brilliant.
I'd like to see my character become gentrified. And I want him to have like a top hat and stuff and start to wear a suit. I'd request to not have to wear that like leather vest thing ever again.
He'd still be tough though, right?
Oh yeah, like tougher. That's the other thing. And he'd have superpowers, and he'd be able to fly, all the while wearing a top hat.
This needs to happen.
This needs to happen.
We have to see this.
So would you see a Game of Thrones movie where everyone has superpowers and wears top hats?
100%.
Yeah. That I was not expecting that answer, and it was amazing.
I suppose another thing was the Lannisters, back to them, Cersei and Jaime.
This whole dynamic is really problematic for me now because of last episode. I mean, so obviously, I haven't read the books. I've kind of spoiled little bits for myself because I hate people knowing what I don't know. So I've just read ahead. But I mean, obviously, they've changed the dynamic from the book. That it was a rape scene, and there's been a lot of discussion about this, and I've read a lot of articles about it. But I mean, it just seems that now, you know, Jaime did quite a number of heroic deeds in this episode, you know, with Brienne and with Tyrion, and it just seems like there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what that scene was in the last episode, that we're meant to just assume that it wasn't what it clearly was.
Yeah, I found it quite shocking that there was no fallout whatsoever. No. Even in the scene with Cersei and Jaime, there was just nothing.
There was no reference to it whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, in
not
actual
even a
fact,
vibe, not even a look.
Well, she actually held the power in that scene as well, and it was like it just felt wrong. It felt like we're not going to discuss this. All right, I guess.
And she's obviously spiraling off the balmy end, but it didn't feel like that was
she wasn't holding that against him.
No.
It's interesting because at the time, it's obviously, I mean, it's a rape scene, and there's a lot of controversy around it. And since that, George R. R. Martin and Nikolai Coster-Waldau have come out and actually talked about it. Right. George R. R. Martin said that he basically thinks it's a case of the butterfly effect, of just where the novels are changing, or the TV shows change from the books to the extent that in the books, for example, Jaime wasn't even at that wedding, so like their characters were in different places. He also said that when he was writing the scene in the book, it's from Jaime's point of view, so you can kind of see inside his head, so there's a little bit more kind of explanation for it, or a reason.
That still doesn't change the fact, though, that I mean, what they're presenting this as now is this is a rape, and there is no repercussions of it. It seems to me it's just bad directing, because there's no consequence of what he did.
Definitely, and that sort of argument about the scene was written from Jaime's perspective is kind of bullshit, sorry George, because yes, it was in his head, but also you had Cersei, it wasn't a rape, she was happy about it. So, you know, that argument kind of makes no sense, and I just think, just kind of badly directed, and there is a trend for the women in the Game of Thrones TV show, the power being taken away from them.
They did the same with Daenerys, right? I mean, her first encounter with Khal Drogo was consenting in
exactly,
the books.
yeah.
I suppose the question with Jaime, because he is such he's a character that everyone kind of loves, or, you know, loves to hate or whatever, has that ruined him for you? Because in this episode, again, there were a lot of steps made to be actually he is turning into a good person.
I mean, so there's this scene with him and Brienne where, I mean, he gifts her Oathkeeper and this awesome set of armor, and it's supposed to be this really lovely moment. You know, he's going outside, you know, he's actually going to great lengths to keep Sansa safe and, you know, do all this quite valiant stuff, and no, it's not working for me now.
Back to Sansa. She is now on a boat.
She's on a boat.
I want to sing the Lonely Island every time. With Littlefinger, and obviously Gav.
He's getting more Irish by the minute, by
Gav
the way.
last week, warning you now, he got a lot of stick for slagging off little
but
fingers.
But he is, come on, no,
Irish
it's
accent.
proper brogue.
I thought it was better this time. I thought it was more measured.
See, it is kind of confusing me now, because I kind of thought that when he was on the ship, like, maybe he puts on a voice when he's around other people, and
but if they
now
don't
he's
make
under
that
pressure.
abundantly clear, then it's just bad acting.
Yeah.
But even that, like, the way that he was just like, I loved how they cut between him and Elena, and it was just like, yeah, I totally set that up.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay.
That was crazy. Like, I couldn't believe, like you say, I couldn't believe how quickly they've resolved that. And like you say, I'm completely relieved that they have, because that would have been dull.
It's kind of great though, because already there is obviously this episode wasn't as kind of shocking, I suppose, as the last couple, but there's so much going on.
Yeah.
It's so dense.
Yeah.
And I think, I suppose now moving on to the big what the fuck moment of the week, which was the ending, which again deviates massively from the books, because for anyone who hasn't read the books,
we haven't seen any of it.
You haven't seen any of that, even up to now, even up to the last book that George wrote.
Yeah.
You see none of that weird kind of mystical what the White Walkers are doing and what they're doing with the babies.
It was very odd to spend that long in their presence, definitely, since we haven't seen them for so long. But
it was cool. It was awesome. You know,
it looks stunning.
It looks great, and I love the look of like the main one at the end, like his weird spiky head and stuff. And the horse as well.
Oh yeah, the horse.
Like with the skull showing through, that was so wicked.
It was proper like Fortress of Solitude though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was kind of like, Fortress of Solitude / Mordor.
Yeah.
Like he was taking the
with
baby.
the beautiful Northern Lights. Kind of
Northern Lights. But really, really cool way to end the episode, which had some weird moments. Like the lead into that scene, all the stuff at Craster's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Again, last week, or like the week with the kind of rape by Joffrey, I thought that was as dark as it can get. And now, like, drinking from the skull.
Yeah.
And
with
again,
the raping of the ladies.
Enough rape,
Yeah,
guys.
I know.
We get it. They're bad. We don't need that.
I was almost like getting up when I was like, oh, this is quite nice. I feel a little bit relieved that there hasn't been quite so much of that this episode. And then it was just thrown in, like in the back, like it was just a blurry backdrop. It was like,
what about, I loved the bit when I saw the direwolf.
Oh God, Ghost, Ghost in summer.
I suppose talking of Bran, that's massive, because in the books they never end up at Craster's Keep.
No, exactly. And that means like it means a huge section, presumably a huge section that I really enjoyed in the books is just gone. Black Hands, for example, is a really cool character. He rides on the back of an elk, and he's just gone, I guess.
So I wonder what they're going to do with that then.
Yeah, I mean.
Because the presumption would be Jon Snow would wander along, save everyone, but then then
it's just everything's thrown off whack, right? Like
completely. Yeah. It's completely changed, and I'm slightly afraid and confused.
But
and
also
sad.
Excited, right? Now you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. I'm kind of excited as well, but I've kind of lost trust. I hate to say it, I've lost trust in the showmakers, because I feel like they've kind of let us down a bit this season. There's been loads of awesome stuff, don't get me wrong, but wherever they've deviated, like it's the rape thing. Like I just feel
that was a major stumbling block. But
I feel they've really messed up with that.
I'm not trying to condone it at all, but if you can park that, I think actually the way they've adapted the rest of it, because they've said they want 7 seasons, where they do any more than that's one thing. There is so much stuff in those books, and they're going to have to make drastic changes. The really interesting thing is that they've allegedly had conversations with George. They know how it ends. So it's almost as though, even though this may be ultimately quite different,
they know where they're going with it.
They kind of know
so
where they're going.
So they have to have a plan in place. But I agree with you. I mean, the rape scene for me was just a massive, massive misstep. But if you can park it, I think like it feels like everything's, everything, they've got a plan for it.
Yeah.
The speed of it, everything is just accelerating.
Yes.
You know?
What slightly scares me is that I kind of, if it gets to a situation where I have to choose between watching the last season of Game of Thrones or waiting for George to finish the books, which could happen, this story could end on TV.
Yeah, oh, it will.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost,
at this pace it's going at, it will.
And I just don't know how I feel about that.
Bless him, it takes, what, 5 years to write a book? And now he is kind of famous and traveling the world and got money and everything. He's like, yay, living it up.
There are songs on the internet saying, please, George, please finish your books before you die, which is kind of like fair, but...
Speaking of amazing Game of Thrones songs, I wanted to bring something in each week from here on out, which is basically talking about the stupid internet thing we found of the week. So did you guys see the amazing YouTube theme tune reinvention wherein every da 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 is replaced by Peter Dinklage? Like Peter Dinklage, and the whole thing just goes on for like 3 minutes, and it's incredible.
Well,
it's even better than the South Park one.
Yeah.
It's just wiener, wiener, wiener.
Yeah. So I think we're going to play a little bit of that for you now. Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage. While everyone else was listening to that amazing Peter Dinklage Game of Thrones theme tune, you guys started talking about Hodor, who we haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah.
So bad. Poor Hodor.
Yeah.
Got stabbed in the leg.
I know.
Put so much passion into like the Hodoring, you know.
But I hope those guys, that means something really bad's going to happen to those guys. Though.
Oh, big time.
So bad.
Yeah.
You don't
Those
fuck
guys
with
are
Hodor.
worst.
Yeah.
So to round things off, obviously every week we have the Wester crossover. So this week we spoke to Tony Way, who plays Dontos, who told us what TV show he would like to see Game of Thrones crossover with.
Well, I was Breaking Bad. I've been a huge fan of, but everyone says that, so they could have Breaking Thrones. I think it would be very interesting to see the characters, see Woody Harrelson from True Detective, just dropped into Westeros. I think that would be quite funny. He'd be very busy solving a lot of murders.
Yes, he'd have a lot to do.
He would.
Yeah.
No one would really understand what he was saying.
We've also been speaking to some other celebrities this week, this time from the world of Hollywood. So this time we have stars from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Divergent telling us whether they watch Game of Thrones.
Never seen that.
I actually haven't, but I like watching TV.
I think you would be in that show.
Hello. Yeah, no, I don't. I've been watching True Detective. That's my HBO kind of geek out at the moment. You seen it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's great, isn't
It's
it?
so good.
Yeah.
I don't watch it.
Okay. What TV show do you watch? What's your favourite at the moment?
I loved Breaking Bad, and I also really love Girls.
Lena Dunham's brilliant in that.
Really, yeah. Everyone in Britain's so great, and yeah, Lena Dunham and Adam Driver, and you know, I really think it's a brilliant show about my generation.
So that's it for this week. Feel free to let us know what you think of the episode in the comments below. Obviously there's some massive book things, there's a few contentious things still from last week that we were discussing, so please do let us know in the comments. We read every one and we try to reply. So thank you very much for your time, and come back same time next week for more Game of Thrones ramblings.
See you next week, guys.
Bye.